Hey guys, I'll be talking to you about assessment in support of student learning. More importantly, from Chapter 1, I'll be talking about formative assessments and how they're utilized in the classroom. So, what is an assessment? I believe it is how we gauge students' understanding of information. So, let's look at formative assessments. I'll tell you off the bat what is not a formative assessment. A formative assessment is not a single event or activity that assesses a student's learning. It is, however, a collection of everything, like a puzzle. It's a collection of all the puzzle pieces that all lead to the same goal, which is improved learning. So, formative assessments are essentially feedback for both teachers and students to gauge. Number one, how teacher is conveying information and how the teacher approaches the learning capabilities of an individual student. And number two, how students are learning that information. So, formative assessments are designed to improve teaching and improve the learning from the students. So, I keep saying the word improving or improvement. What do I mean by improvement? Yes, I mean make things better. But how do we ensure that improvement? What about tests? Tests are usually summative assessments, although they can be formative, but they're usually at the end of a unit and then they gauge what the student has retained. So, in order to perform well on a summative, how do I gauge my students and what do they need to know from the content and how do I convey that to them to have them do well on the summative at the end? So formative assessments are a bunch of little assessments like we talked about, and they're to gauge how well students are doing or how poorly information is being retained. So how do we encourage that with the feedback? For example, last week I showed a video on diffusion and on osmosis. So how did I gauge what the students learned? I gave a video for them to watch explaining exactly what I had just taught, just in a different way. It was the same lesson, but different approach to it, different diagrams explaining. So it was the same, but it was different. So different types of formative assessment to complete the same goal. So here comes the feedback. I found that the 5 questions that I gave at the end of that formal assessment, it only took about 5 minutes to complete, but it gave me a wealth of knowledge to help me become a better teacher and to help the students become better learners. I worded a question wrong on it, and I learned from my mistake. I caused a misconception on how molecules interact with each other, and a lot of students got it wrong because of that. So I learned from my mistake. I learned how to make it better, which brings me to my next point. Pinpoint problem areas, whether it be in your teaching or in the student's learning. Also, I want to assess my own teaching style. I always want to keep improving myself as a teacher. Also, practice for the content. Can't beat that. So that was an example of formal formative assessment. The thing is, there's formal and informal, and they go hand in hand. So formal would be like what I did, the quiz after the video. It could also be projects in English if you have like a performance, a survey, or especially in the science room, labs. Labs are big formal assessments. So what about informal assessments? Informal assessments would be things such as thought-provoking questions that cause a good discussion about a topic, or just simple observation, even anecdotal note-taking to remember things. So you can always be assessing in a classroom. You don't get in your car and hit the gas and hope for the best. You always assess the situation, making adjustments constantly to ensure the success of your drive. So in the classroom, it's the same way. To have a successful lesson and unit, you must always assess the situation, make adjustments, no matter how small or minuscule they might be. So that's my secret. I'm always assessing my students. So what is formative assessment? It is all the information and data that we collect from observing the students in the learning environment and utilizing that knowledge to steer the classroom to success and enhance learning. So we're that ever-vigilant superhero that watches over our students and is constantly working for them and to better ourselves. So thank you, and I hope you found this informative. If you have a problem with students using these during your class time, turn them into formative assessments.